I'm Lindsay Houston, and this is Always Be Connecting. And today we want to talk about community. And in marketing, community can sometimes ring quite hollow, but in reality, community is something of strength. So today we're talking to somebody who works with communities through events, initiatives, and innovation, and that is the Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer of North's Collective, Robert Lopez. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Your North Collectives, the motto is connecting the community. So you're a great person to have on for an episode talking about community. Do you want to talk a little bit what you think of the word community and how it relates to your journey? Definitely,
yeah. Look, for us, we work in a very unique space. North's Collective are a group of dynamic hospitality venues, but at our core, we're profit for purpose, meaning whilst we're there to make profit, we need to be profitable. Our profits go back into the betterment of our facilities for our members. We're a membership-based organisation, and back into the community. We're governed by the New South Wales Registered Clubs Act. So whilst we have to give back to the community, we always go above and beyond that. And we give back around $1.8 million a year to those who need it most within the community. And it's a very special opportunity to be able to work for an organisation, in a very, transformative role that's allowed us to really digitally transform and better communicate and connect with our members, which in turn means we can give back more to the community, because the more engaged our members are with our business, the more we can give back. And I guess one statistic I love throwing out there is since we sort of started this digital transformation journey to today, we now give back 13% more in community support than we did before we started this digital transformation journey. And that just shows that we're connecting now more than ever with our members, who are connecting more with our business.
It's interesting that when you get the right mix of things, it's just win-win-win. If you are somebody who does something for the good, for the community, for impact, then it brings strength to what you're doing. What sort of things do North Collective do?
I guess at the core, whilst we're a hospitality group, we are multifaceted. We've got Lawn Bowls, which is another community that we're very, very, honoured to have as part of our group. At our core, we were started for rugby league. So the North Sydney Bears, they were a foundation club in the what is now the NRL, and they started their leagues club. So at our core, we are always there for the proliferation of sport, especially junior sport. We know that there are an endless list of benefits for children who can participate in junior sports. There's social benefits, there's health benefits, teamwork, connecting with others, another community forming. So we always love to make sure that we're holding that sort of junior sport at a high level. We focus a lot of our efforts now on those pockets of our communities that need it the most. And we've just gone through another round of what we call club grants funding. And we sit with our local council and we work together to look through all the applications for grants to determine who's a high, medium and low risk in our community and who would need the funds most. And it's interesting to see, just after COVID, we do this every year, I noticed we sort of saw a lot of mental health organisations coming to the forefront.
Yeah.
There was a real need in our community to support those pockets. And whereas now we're sort of seeing the need to really support those elderly and disadvantaged within the community, because the cost of living crisis is a real thing. It is. It's affecting those people who sort of, came out of COVID, were a little bit disenfranchised, disengaged with communities around them, and now we're finding that people need support in other areas. So what's exciting for us is that we can be agile, we can pivot each year, we can give back to those who need it more, and it gives us another community to work with, and we love telling that story too. Recently we were part of the Clubs and Community Awards, and we got 2 highly commended sort of silver medals for our work with Assistance Dogs Australia. which is a fantastic organisation, and our work with the Veterans Music Venture, who helps, veterans connect with another community who might feel isolated. So it's those sort of stories that get out there and really help tell the wider community just what their local club does for their community.
And how do you find out about what is the right thing to support? So you mentioned talking to the council. Do people approach you? Is there a sort of a thorough research, or do you put it out to the community? Sort of, what are the methods there?
Yeah. So every year, usually in May, the round of applications open. And so generally, organisations know well and truly in advance when this is happening, and they start dotting their I's and crossing their T's to submit their application.
Okay.
We do talk to them. We do, understand a bit more about them. And then we do consult very closely with council, because they are, at the foreground. They understand where their funding is going every year, so they can also help guide us, because it's a collaborative approach and it needs to be. There's no point us, giving $40,000 to an organisation who's just received $100,000 from the council.
Yeah.
If we could give that $40,000 to someone else who missed out on council funding. So we use a very collaborative approach with council on that one.
So there's almost a community within the committee as well.
100%. And what's really good is, I've been with our organisation for 12 and a half years. Our CEO has been with our organisation more than double that. So we sit on the committee. We sit in these meetings annually, and we've seen over the years, who we've supported before, and we foster and form relationships with them. There's one organisation called Learning Links, and long-time community partner of Norse Collective and a number of clubs across New South Wales. And what I love about Learning Links is they really are at the coalface in terms of primary schools. And they are there supporting the students that are falling behind, the students that aren't getting the support they need because of lack of funding. So we support through 3 local primary schools in our catchment. We support a Reading for Life program, a Counting for Life program, and a speech pathologist within one of the schools. And that's just great, because it also means that we can build a community with our staff, because our staff then put their hands up to volunteer.
Yeah.
They go through that channel and they then go and help with these programs in the schools, which means that our staff get more fulfillment from their work as well.
Yeah. So, and then how do you balance that? How do you balance working in a sort of non-for-profit way, and then also working to keep the wheels spinning?
That's always the challenge, isn't it? I guess it's interesting. You look, we've got 7 venues across the group, and every venue is unique. And I guess for us, we always make sure that we're operating sustainably for the future. We always want to make sure that the business decisions we're making are the right ones, and the ones that are going to see us, well beyond the years that we're in the organisation. We want to set us up for success into the future.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is the governance from our board of directors. We're governed by a board who report back directly to our members. We've got about 61,500 members. So when you join your local club, you almost own a piece of it. You've got voting rights, and you really can have a voice within your membership group. And so we really work hard to make sure that we're running the business as a business.
Yep.
But underpinned by community. And it's a good story to tell, and not many people know it. People think, we're going to go out for dinner tonight. Where are we going to go? You've got your local club, you've got restaurants, you've got pubs, you've got hotels. You could go to many different places. But I guess what's important to understand is wherever you spend that dollar, by going to your local club, that part of that is going to go back to the community, regardless. We're not owned by a syndicate. We're not owned by a venture. We're not owned by an individual or a family. We are owned by our members and really our community. And that's a very unique business model.
Yeah, sure. It's a unique business model, but then there are when businesses do get bigger, there is this kind of need to split some philanthropic arm of their business in some way. Do you think it's a rite of passage? Because none of this has happened overnight. This is how long has
Oh, 1950s.
1950s.
Yeah.
So that's 60. No, hang on. I think I'm 30 again. That's 70 years of community building. So, like, is it a rite of passage? Is it something that everybody should kind of like work towards to have this kind of, this is sustainable, this is profit, this is community?
I do believe every business should have some, whether it's philanthropic, whatever it is, they really should have some model that gives back to the community. ESG is spoken about a lot today, this whole governance, sustainability piece. But I do believe that companies, and the bigger you get, probably the more, reliance the community might have on your business, I think should have a focus on it. And there's many ways to do it. There's companies out there that approach this sort of concept differently. There's volunteering hours for staff. Some companies say we'll give back X percentage of our profit to community organisations. Some companies say we're going to give back X percent of product. A lot of software companies look at it that way and say, well, if you're a not-for-profit, you can put an application in, we'll give you product, software for free.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. I think there's many benefits to it. And as you said, it's a win-win all around. The community wins, your organisation wins. It's a good news story. And in today's day and age, by God, are we looking for good news stories?
Yeah.
And I think that no matter what, everybody wants the community to succeed. Everybody. And we particularly, we have two key communities. We've got the North Shore of Sydney and we've got the Northern Rivers. We've got two sort of clubs up far north coast of New South Wales, and two very different communities with very different needs. So, we really like the fact that we are helping two separate communities every year through the Club Grants program and even beyond that. The local sporting clubs, I think I was looking the other day, we sponsor around 20 local sporting clubs across the two regions. We have around 40 intra-clubs. And these intra-clubs, I guess, individuals in the community who want to be part of something. So we at Norths in Camaray, we've got around 20 intra-clubs. We've got a photography club, a runners club. We've got a chess club, a bridge club, euchre club. And these are people in our community who really want to connect with others who have similar interests, and we allow them to do that. We facilitate that connection.
I think a lot of people are looking for that at the moment as well. This sort of 3, 4, 5 years out of the trauma of isolation and stuff to meet more people. So you're giving back, but then you've also got the fact that your business is a set of venues. So you have a different level of community in what you do as well. So you have people coming, having parties, conferences, events. How does that all play into sort of like the wider picture?
Yeah, so we're a business and we need to treat it as a business. So from a marketing perspective, with my marketing hat on, we're always looking at how we can better connect with customers, with those communities. And a really good example is the Greens at North Sydney.
Yeah.
One of our venues there, probably one of our most well-known across the Sydney community. Most people have been there at least once, I would say, if not for a Christmas party, for an event of some sort. We see around 20,000 people through that venue purely for Christmas parties in November and December, which equates to around 1,900 separate Christmas parties. And, for us, that venue there is one way that we're really ensuring future sustainability. We're really ensuring that we're hitting the mark. We're attracting, a corporate market into our business, because we also find that through the connections with corporate partners, we can even foster more community relationships. We've got a number of our corporate partners who've supported us and our community partners, financially and through product as well. And so I think when we look at our business model, we really drive a strong, digital marketing focus. That was a huge part of our digital transformation journey, was really understanding how can we drive hyper-personalised omni-channel marketing journeys to ensure we're getting the best chance of success of conversion. We've got a strong member base. Our members are loyal. Members trust our venues. There's this level of trust in the brand and in the group. But we always need to understand that we're going to be sustainable. So we want to grow that membership base. We want to make sure that we're growing the customer base. So we use sort of MarTech to allow us to do that. And this sort of, I guess, centralized single source of customer truth where we've worked hard to connect our sort of siloed, disparate customer systems, whether they're food and beverage POS, ticketing, entertainment, our gym systems. It's all now connected to give us a single source of customer truth that allows us to market to our members on an individual level, but at scale.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, okay. So if you're someone who's expressed an interest in
could be a lead,
photography, or or you come for business networking events or whatever it is, then things that interest you will be flagged.
Will be flagged, will be presented. We use a very strong hyper-personalization strategy. So whilst we might send a what's on this month email to everybody, they're going to get separate content based on your behavioral attributes. And a big part of our focus has been, how can we personalize ethically? And we just went live in April with our ethical personalization policy, which is on our Norse Collective website. And it outlines pretty sort of succinctly on 3 pages how we collect, use and store our members' data and why we use that data, because we want to give them a personalised experience. And I think I read the other day, was it McKinsey & Company did a study where 70% of consumers expect you to personalise their communication, expect you to show them what they want to see.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the approach we took. And so we do that ethically because we back in the day we might use physical attributes, whether it's age or gender or postcode to market to someone, whereas now we don't really use that. We tweak it, we use it a little bit, but we focus more on behavioural and engagement data. We want to look at, let's not just email, females because there's a cocktail promotion. Let's email people who've purchased from the department cocktail, because we know that now because our point of sale data is integrated into this single source of truth. And, you hit a whole different market that this message is more relevant to.
Yeah, yeah. So relevance is
massive.
Very, very key. Yeah, interesting. And then the events themselves, what do you think makes a successful event? Because often people organise themselves around a central point, where it's food. You mentioned bowls earlier. What elements have you seen either you guys have as an initiative or other people's events?
I think organisation's the key. We sadly, one of the local clubs recently closed down, and they had future event bookings because of their location, for months on end. And these bookings, were, I guess, homeless at that point. So a lot of them reached out to us. And we worked hard to accommodate them. And, I guess our events team are great. They're hyper-organised and they were able to do it and support what the clients needed. And I think customers who are looking at booking events need to have a strong organisational sense, because the problem with especially corporate events is, and Christmas parties are a great example, you're relying on your organisation's staff members to A, read the email, B, understand what's needed, and now there's the whole people and culture piece, which is how your behaviour needs to be at events and all this sort of stuff. There's other layers that are thrown in, which never existed in the 90s or the 2000s. It was, we're going out for our Christmas party.
That might have helped.
It might have helped, yes.
Some people.
It probably could have helped. And I think, I always say the venue needs to work closely with the organiser. And it's up to the venue to ensure that all the accurate information's been passed across. We're just now about to turn the lights on in our call centre, who really manage a lot of our inbound function and event inquiries. They're now going to be in our Salesforce ecosystem, and they're going to have full access to the single source of customer truth. We'll remove some sort of unnecessary PII data, which they don't need to see.
What's PII?
So personally identifiable information. So there's things that they don't need to see about people.
Yeah.
But there's stuff, there's elements around their behaviour that's going to help them when they're on a phone call. And a great example could be, right now, when they're not in that ecosystem, somebody rings up, a phone number appears. They don't know who it is at that point. They'll answer the phone and they'll converse and understand what this person wants. They might say, I'm interested in a function at the Greens, North Sydney. I work for this organisation. I'm a member, but I just want to find out your pricing. Now, we turn the lights on in August this month, and all of a sudden the person will ring, and because it's within our Salesforce ecosystem, it'll bring up in front of this staff member who this person is. It'll bring up their length of membership if they're a member. It'll bring up what their customer lifetime value is. It will bring up any recent website activity that they've done, what they've viewed on our website. And it'll also use AI to give them a very small transcript describing who this person is. And then because they've got this information, they can be ready, I guess, with a next best action, as opposed to waiting to find that out and drawing that information.
Instead of an investigative
100%
phone call.
So you build efficiencies through that. And that was a real big part of this journey, was how do we build efficiencies and how do we get that single source of customer truth?
It was interesting. We had a podcast episode a few weeks ago with Oscar Trumbrella, who's a listening expert. Have you met Oscar? Do you know him?
I've heard the name many, many times.
Yeah. And he was saying that listening is so important and that we only hear this much of what's going on, or where there's this much behind the doors that we just don't know. So it's interesting that you could be able to have a kink in the door before the person has started to try and explain their situation, because that's a frustration with phone calls, isn't it? Often,
trying to get the information out, drawing the information.
Going to the right department, and
who do you pass them to? Who do they want? What do they want? Do they know what they want on the phone? Who knows? And I think listening is so important. I love Judge Judy, and I love one of her phrases, which is, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You should listen twice as much as you speak. I could learn from that a little bit, actually. And it's true. I always say to my team, actively listen. Every conversation you're in, really understand what's being told. And that's similar with our community. We want to know what the community stories. We want to understand at the core of it, what is their issue? How can we help solve their problem? And it's not always financially. It isn't. We talk about $1.8 million a year in community support, and a fair whack of that is financial. But a lot of it is also in kind. We offer spaces, safe spaces for them to meet, to connect. We could be supporting St. Vincent's de Paul, and they want to have a meeting with their different leaders, and we can offer them a space in one of our venues to sit down, meet, and connect with each other that they could not get otherwise. So we do work to understand what the needs are in the community by listening to them and understand how we can support them.
Yeah. So it's an important part of marketing is the listening aspect. And I guess some people could have reservations or not be in agreement that, a CRM is the best thing for them, or they don't want to be on a CRM. But how do you reframe that? How do you reframe it so it's it's something that is going to be of benefit, because not only to you, but what you were saying about the community and the initiatives and getting it right. And I think for us, and this digital transformation journey is multifaceted, but I think for us, one big part that we've taken our organisation on a journey with is how important data is in playing its role in decision making. And I'll give a really sort of clean example on this one. We relaunched our loyalty program, the One Collective program, last year in April. And when we took a step back, our existing program had been in the market for a long time, so it needed a refresh. We took a step back and we thought, it's a loyalty program and it's there to benefit our members, and you work, it's like any loyalty program, you work up the tiers and you get different benefits at different tier levels. But we said at the core of our business lies community, connecting our community. That's our motto. So how can we use this program to allow our members to connect with our community? And so we introduced a Community Points for Good program. And we could only introduce this program because we've got a strong centralised single source of truth. And what this program does, as members engage with our business, as they spend, as they visit our venues and use their membership card at point of sale, they earn their regular points, but they earn a separate bucket of points, their community points. And every quarter, a member can choose a community partner on an online form,
And at the end of the quarter, we total up all the community points that have been earned by all our members, and we share that amongst all the community partners that have been pledged their points. And we give $15,000 back every quarter above the community support we do already. And this was a really good example of how we've used tech, because we needed to get all of that data connected. We need to know that Jack Smith has spent at this venue and selected this community partner and earned these community points to give that value back. We use tech and we use our membership base, which is something even bigger, to connect with the community in another way. And that's a really good example of how we sort of took our organisation on a bit of a different tangent through this digital transformation journey, showing we're using this tech and this data now to give back to the community. And they've loved it, and our members have embraced it.
Yeah. And how has it sped up with AI, like your digital transformation?
Yeah, AI is an interesting one. So there's generative AI, and our marketing team have been using that for a little while now. And I always say to them, you've got to take a human in the loop approach. You always need a human in the loop with generative AI. You can't rely on it to give you exactly what you want. But it's great at efficiencies. Excellent. And now we're looking at how we can really use AI, and I mentioned it in the call centre. How can we use AI to drive next best action? Because there might be multiple calls that are logged within our system with the same caller, and each has a task attached to it. AI could generate what the next best action is for our staff members. It can generate the responsive email with the right attachment of the right venue that they're inquiring about, with their function and event pricings and room spaces. So that's where we're really delving into now, to build more efficiencies in the call centre to allow them to, I guess, attend to more calls each day without having to deep dive into question after question.
Yeah.
How do we use AI to deliver answers back to our call centre attendants without the need to have all this, conversation taking place?
Next best, you've said next best, I can't say it myself, next best action a couple of times. That's a really interesting idea to have with your team and have with the business. Like, what is the next best action?
Yeah.
And what do you think the next best action for where North's Collective wants to go?
Yeah, I think for us, we are always looking at how we can better ourselves, look from the inside out. How can we do things better? But how can we continue to do even more for the community? And we can only do more for the community when we are doing things right as a business, because we can give back more to the community when our community is doing more with our businesses. So I guess for us, we've got, master plans. How are we going to continue to remain relevant? A big part of, the registered club industry, especially over the last 10 years, has been diversification. And so it's a big,
sure.
hot topic word.
In what sense?
In the sense that if you go to a lot of clubs these days, yep, you've got what you expect: food, beverage, the entertainment offerings that you expect in a club. But now all of a sudden you'll go there and you'll be like, oh, there's a car wash. Oh, look, there's a retirement village. Oh, there's a bowling alley. Oh, there's a movie cinema. Oh, what's going over here? There's another, escape rooms, or they've built an office block, or, there's a shopping mall under the club. Because clubs have found the need to diversify revenue streams to remain sustainable into the future. So I think for us, our next best action is always understanding what the needs of our community are going to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time, and planning for that.
Sure. Because hospitality today is completely different to hospitality 20 years ago.
Very different. And people engage with hospitality differently. I mean, you look at all the different hospitality offerings now, and I always say, back in the day I might say we compete with clubs. Well, we don't. We compete with the entertainment industry. We compete for share of wallet with movie cinemas, bowling alleys, anywhere that anyone, day spas, could potentially spend their entertainment dollars. We compete with those businesses. So how do we remain relevant, and how do we continue to compete well with them? And I guess where clubs do have a bit of a leading edge is that we are generally seen as, strong value drivers in the community. If you're a family of 4, you can go to your local club. You can have a nice meal together and a good night out for far less than if you went to a restaurant or a hotel or a pub. And that's just that sort of club community model at heart, is that we are there for our community and we need to offer a safe space, an affordable space for our communities to come in and connect.
And is there anything that you do like to look out for people who are isolated, or like, you know, within a community there are plenty of outliers and there's plenty of people who don't fit in and stuff like that. So what can they do and what can we do and what can you do to include everyone?
I think it starts with a conversation. And we're about to go to market with a new campaign around membership, that really aims at looking at connecting people through membership. And I think for us, we're always ear to the ground with organisations out there that are supporting those in isolation. And especially after COVID, I mentioned before, we found a lot of organisations that popped out of the woodworks that needed support. You've got Lifeline and great organisations that do phenomenal things for people in need. And so I think for us, we will always continue to have our ear close to the ground, talk to the right people, connect with the right groups, and then give them offerings. Our intra-clubs are a great example. Local sporting groups are a great example. Even just regular activities like the bingo. We've got bingo twice a week. It's a great little community that come in and connect twice a week when they play bingo. So there's many different channels that we can give to the community to allow them to come in and connect with others.
Because often it is people who are feeling isolated that would join a bingo or join a photography.
Yeah, exactly.
Club.
They're missing something. They miss that connection. They miss that engagement. People tend to like being around people who have similar interests. And that's why intra-clubs work so well.
Sure. So like going back to sort of the events of like people sort of organise themselves around something. And like hospitality is traditionally beer and snacks.
Traditionally. Put simply, beer and snacks. Maybe a chicken palmy.
But then, so you got some more food, you got the bowls, photography. Do you think there always has to be a central point? Can you throw people in a room and without...
Well, they did it on Big Brother. So, you never know your luck in a big town. I think the common interest is always helpful because it's a conversation starter for them. But do you know what? In saying that, and this is what I love about what we do, the Club Grants program I mentioned before, we work with council, and once we've made a decision on who we put forward to give our funding to, we give it to our board of directors. They review it, they understand the alignment, and they then sign off on it. And then we invite all of those successful applicants in for a morning tea. And what I love is that whilst they're all connected because they're community organisations, a lot of them have never met before.
Yeah.
And what happens, we bring them together, we sort of give them all a plaque with our logos together, and we have photos with them, and we connect them. Through the conversations that we foster with them on that day, they then go away and collaborate. There's organisations that say, well, you know what, because you do that and we do this, we could come together and we could actually help this community out. And that's because of the conversation starter that we've given them. So we have thrown people into a room in that instance, and whilst they're connected by community, a lot of them have never really met before. And so we start this conversation and we I guess get their light bulb moments going because they understand, there might be someone there saying, oh, St Vincent de Paul, I could help you because I've got this through my organisation and vice versa. So it's good that we're able to facilitate those conversations.
Sure, a bit of alignment. And you should meet this person over here. And
that's right.
You should meet that person.
We're community matchmakers.
Beautiful. I like that. And you told me before that you did some stand-up comedy in a previous life.
Oh, wow. Yes.
What did that teach you about community?
What did that teach me about communities can be mean? No. What did that teach me about community?
You can handle a heckle or two.
I can handle a heckle or two. I'm Sicilian at heart. We invented heckling and organised crime, but we'll stick with heckling. I think I'm not scared of a microphone. I never have been. My dad was a well-known politician in Lower North Shore.
Okay.
So I got the gift of the gab from Dad. And I think for me, I love comedy. Jim Carrey got me into comedy. Jim Carrey and Jerry Seinfeld got me into comedy.
They're very different comedians.
Very different. You got real slapstick to real matter of fact, but I loved them both, and I used to listen to their jokes over and over and memorize them by heart when I was sort of in the later years of primary school. And I just remember one day thinking, I can do this. So I did it for 2 years while I was studying and loved it. I still do weddings. I'm not completely out of it. I do the odd one. I've got a wedding coming up this year, Lebanese Australian weddings. I'm starting to write some jokes for that one. That's pretty easy though with the Lebanese. There's plenty to make fun of.
Well, there's plenty of food at a Lebanese wedding.
Oh my God, there's plenty of food at a Lebanese wedding. There is plenty of food. The Greeks I don't know about because one of the great ones with the Greeks are the Greek a Greek salad. You've had a Greek salad before, but the Greeks just stole that. If you think about a Greek salad, it's got Persian feta, Lebanese cucumber, Roma tomatoes and Spanish onions. There's not really much.
Well, we're all thieving.
That's pretty much true,
aren't we?
Pretty much true. But no, comedy's a great way to connect as well.
Yeah. And you're a movie critic as well.
Well, I don't know if I'm a movie critic. I'm a movie buff, and I've reviewed plenty of movies on my movie blog. Yeah. About 700 of them. But I love movies. I think when I was younger, I used to love just getting into a cinema and watching a movie and seeing it all on the big screen. So I've always had a passion for movies, especially horror, strangely enough.
Yeah. And do you think that culture and community go together? Like in we're talking about sort of organising ourselves around food and other things, Culture would be so important to a venue, would you say?
Oh, culture is everything. You've got when we talk about culture, there's so many ways to go. You've got your organisation's culture, and we've been on a real journey over the last 5 years with our organisation. We went to market with, a new cultural direction of a place to belong, and that's how we go to market for staff and new team members. And we really have driven this culture, introducing things like volunteer days. Staff can take up to X volunteer days a year paid to go and support the community, which staff love. We're working hard to get more uptake now to get the message out more to staff members. But they've always said in our sort of start, stop, continue surveys every year that they want to really continue the community focus of the club. And we've built that culture within that group. We've then got the culture of our members. They come in and they're friendly. We've got a warm connection between our staff and our members. And that's always been a nice culture to have in a club group. It's not like you walk into a pub and they don't know you or whatnot.
Yeah.
Within a club, we generally know who you are. And that membership card means a lot to people. Some of them have had that membership card since the 70s, since the 60s.
Sure.
We've got members who come in and show us their old badges because there was no plastic cards back in the day. You used to get a little badge that you'd wear with your membership number engraved in the back every year. So, there's a lot of history there and a lot of culture that's shifted over time. Yeah. But we always keep culture at the coalfront.
Do you think that communities, because at the beginning I was talking about how the word community can sometimes ring hollow. Do you think that's when there is no culture? Do you think it's like, is a culture and community exclusive, or do you need a healthy amount of culture?
Yeah, I think you've got to have good culture to foster a strong community. I don't think you can have one without the other. I think it'd be very hard. Like, we couldn't do what we do now if we didn't have the culture within our organisation. Yeah. If there wasn't the care and the time taken and the due diligence and the understanding of the why we're doing what we're doing as part of our culture, we couldn't do the community work that we do. So I think they do go hand in hand, and companies should always look at them together. Yeah,
beautiful. And do you want to look into the camera over here and break the fourth wall? And do you want to promote your club, your blog?
Wow. Okay. God, lots to do. Norse Collective, we've got 7 venues. Check us out, norsecollective.com.au for all your hospitality needs. Feel free to jump onto my movie blog. I apologise. I'm a bit of a generous reviewer. I won't lie. Joe Rob's Movie Blog is its name. And actually, there is a digital transformation podcast too that I just launched with one of my team members, Bite-Sized, BYTE, Digital Transformation Unlocked. Check it out as well.
Beautiful. Bite-sized.
Bite-sized, because they're 20-minute episodes.
Because digital transformation is not an overnight job.
It isn't, but we're doing our best to give you 20-minute snapshots to make your job easier.
That's very cool. That's very giving of you. So yeah, I'll check that out myself. But thank you so much, Rob. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
There's a lot of value in there for people, so thank you.
Thank you.